this is Paul Chek. Welcome back to my mini-series, 7 parts, Movement as Medicine. This is part 6, working out or transforming yourself. So today I've got a few concepts to share with you that I hope will, sit clearly in the center of your consciousness so you understand some of these very, very important but poorly understood principles. So let's see what we have in store for you today. So working out operates on the fire principle, which means catabolic. The word catabolic means tissue destructive. When you're working out, you normally get sore and need some recovery time because you have catabolized or broken tissue down, and therefore you have to have the time and resources to regenerate. So the key point to remember here is that fire transforms things. If you put fire to metal, it melts it. If you put fire to wood, transforms it into ash. So the fire principle is very, very important to understand because in our culture, people think that you can use fire to create something, but really fire is only half of the creative cycle. If you want to make something out of metal and you melt it down, you still have to go through the shaping process and all the steps necessary. In other words, fire or the fire transformation is only one part of a series of steps in any creative process, but most people in our culture are oriented only around the fire and not the balancing factor, which water is the controlling function of fire energetically. So, to the degree that you're working out, it requires an anabolic rebound. Anabolic means growth, repair, regeneration, rebuilding, the utilization of nutrition and resources to create new cells that are aiding the growth and development in the direction you want to go. If you break your muscles down working out, the regenerative process is what builds them back up, and to the degree that the stress is well managed, each time you stress the system and break it down, the body sees that as an indicator that it needs to provide you more connective tissue strength, more muscular strength, more joint and bone strength, etc. But if you do not have adequate recovery time, and some of the other factors I'll talk about, then you just go from fire to fire to fire, and that leads to ash and burnout. Working out enhances autonomy, especially in women. Research shows that when women use resistance training in particular, there's a significant improvement in their sense of autonomy or self-esteem, which is very good. Working out is very, very beneficial to young men's and men of any age's self-esteem as well, as long as they're not overly identified with their workout as their total sense of self, which is another challenge which I will talk about now. Next, working out really helps psychologically. We live in a very high stress environment worldwide. We're bombarded with information, bills, economy, etc., etc., etc. If you look at Robert Becker's book, The Body Electric, he shows how much more background electromagnetic energy is in our environment compared to 1900, and it's over 1,000 times more electromagnetic stress alone. All the way back in 1972, Rachel Carlson wrote the book Silent Spring and showed that we were being dangerously poisoned by chemicals, yet the newer research shows that what her findings were just a drop in the bucket. So we have to remember that we're in an environment where there's a lot of wind-up. There's a lot of things that are invisible, such as chemicals in food, exposure to light, exposure to multiple communications by phones, by email. So this is all wind-up stuff. So interestingly, workout technologies can be used as an unwinding mechanism. So the analogy that I give is if you're a mechanic and you're putting a cylinder head on an engine and you've got to torque the cylinder head bolts to 110 foot-pounds of torque, it's going to take at least 111 foot-pounds of torque to undo that bolt. So the wind-up, your work stress, your relationship stress, that's like winding that bolt down. But to unwind, what we find, or what I find clinically and observationally in myself and clients and athletes, is that the more wound a person gets, typically the more stress they attract themselves to in their workout routine. So you get wound up, busy executive types all of a sudden entering triathlons without any real proper conditioning and torturing themselves, etc., etc. Point being is, working out can have the function of unwinding your inner wind or your psychological wind, because to the degree that you're in stress internally, it often takes that much stress externally to neutralize the stress. Oftentimes our stress is because we're not getting enough time to be with ourselves or spend time in intimate relationships or be creative in our life. So all of a sudden we get into a workout and we just go hog wild because we actually have all this pent-up creative energy. And so that is a very effective way to relieve stress, but the problem is that if you're always using a workout to meet your inner wind and you don't use work-in technologies, the wind up from the stress and the wind down from the workout, which is actually still a wind up, are both catabolic. So you're using a catabolic technique against a catabolic technique. That's fighting fire with fire. Now, a fireman would tell you that you can use fire to fight fire. You have to create a fire break. So you light a fire to get everything out of the way in that area so a fire that's coming can't make a jump. But that also is a very dangerous technique because the fire that you start for the fire break can get out of control. The same is true. Working out to counterbalance an inner fire that's raging is dangerous if it's not well managed. It's effective, but it's dangerous if not managed. So when we see this kind of concept of winding up and then using another winding technique to counterbalance, remember when you load a bolt, you're winding it to the right. To unwind it, you've got to use more pressure to go to the left. So you're moving in the direction of working in. If you make yourself really tired going out and running 6 miles or going into the gym and blasting yourself, you're still using a wind-up technology, but the difference is it triggers a desire for rest, a desire for water, a desire for good food, as long as you have that awareness in your head. So you see, the wind-unwind technique can work as long as it's coupled with anabolic rebound technologies. What leads people to trouble is not managing the anabolic rebound, which is often related to exercise addiction, being addicted to the endorphins and other anabolic happy chemicals or joy chemicals that are released with exercise. Even adrenaline can be addictive. I've seen many adrenaline junkies. So you have to be very careful with that. The next thing that I see a lot of is identifying ourselves as doing versus being. I'm a triathlete. I'm a hockey player. I'm a weightlifter. So their whole identity is tied up in their mode of expressing themselves as a doing as opposed to being a human being. Our exercise should be almost an artistic expression of ourselves, but should not be mistaken for our identity. A classic example of an identity conflict is bodybuilding as a general theme. Most bodybuilders go right bloody crazy if they can't get a workout in or can't get their 76 ounces of turkey a day or whatever they're up to. So you see there's an over-identification with the body as the self, which is really, really dangerous, especially when you don't understand these principles. An example of this over-identified with doing is amongst males, immature males, there's two things that seem to drive an immature male. How big is your dick and how big is your bench press? I can't tell you how many times when I'm consulting for professional sports teams and athletes all over the world, one of the first questions they ask me, how big is your bench press? Well, it doesn't matter how big your bench press is if you're getting your ass kicked on a field because it's not a functional exercise. So I'm just showing you, this is kind of like the compartmentalization of the ego, over-fixation on things that really aren't truly an authentic expression of who you are. It's just somebody that needs attention largely. Okay? So when we come over here, we look working in yin. If you have adequate rest, it produces the desire to express yourself outwardly. Yin accumulates resources, energy, and preparedness so that you then can begin. This is the seed of a workout. Working out brings you to a state of desire for rest and anabolic factors. If your workout gets to be too big, then what happens is you start cutting into your work in until you are dangerously low on anabolic capacity. That's a problem. So what you see here is that we have a stress cycle working out. Our goal is to balance working out with recovery cycles or working in, all of which requires awareness to do effectively. In our culture worldwide, we have a serious lack of awareness with exercise. Most people are identified by doing what everyone else is doing. If everyone's doing CrossFit, you got all sorts of people doing CrossFit that shouldn't be there. Pilates, all of it. It's all kind of like kids that want to play with each other, but oftentimes it's little kids trying to play with relatively bigger kids. And so when little kids try to lift weights with big kids, they get hurt. When little kids start boxing, playing soccer, hockey, and baseball with big kids, they get hurt. So what we've got to do is we've got to really start bringing ourselves into a level of self-awareness so that we're spending time inside of ourselves, working in and in our recovery cycle, and we get clear about what it is that we're really trying to create and try to be more scientific about it. There's a science to it, which I show in all my resources I'll share with you at the end, but effective exercise, especially working out, is 50% art and 50% science. If you're too artistic, then you're somebody that's in a gym doing all sorts of stuff too frequently for their own good, and it's not intelligently planned out. If you're too scientific, then you're trusting more what's written on a paper than what you're experiencing inside. So you need to have a balance of inner awareness with awareness of what your dream is, or you really don't know what you're creating, and exercise really is, shall we say, like a form of, I'll call it passive addiction. Passive meaning that people don't really know what they're doing to themselves and end up having more problems than good, which makes me sad because exercise is really a beautiful tool. And as I say on one of my t-shirts, exercise is the drug of choice because you can control it and you're using your own chemistry set instead of, buying drugs from doctors. Okay, so it requires a planned recovery, working out, catabolic breakdown, working in, anabolic conditioning response. There's a very, very important feature. Most people in our culture worldwide today have this false concept in their head that they get stronger when they're working out. Therefore, they go at it with great intensity. Oftentimes when athletes' performance begins to drop, largely because they're too tired, or when people's bodies start to lose their shape while they're still working out, which is extremely common, they think it's an indication they're not working out enough, so they push themselves even further. I one time had a 62-year-old executive who had hired a famous bodybuilding trainer in Venice Beach to help him lose weight. This guy was like 242 pounds, and he started gaining weight, not muscle weight, but fat weight and water weight very quickly on this guy's program, and the bodybuilding trainer said that he wasn't working hard enough, so he kept pushing him harder and harder. Well, by the time this guy got to me, he was doing 14 hours a week of exercise. A lot of Olympic class athletes only exercise 8 hours a week. And he had gained more and more weight, and eventually, within a very short period of time, had some real serious health problems, and I had to intervene. This is the concept I'm talking about. If some's not working, do more. It's called Moore's Law. If a little bit is good, then a shitload is better. Well, it doesn't work with the human body. So you have to be very, very careful about these concepts. So we need The breakdown will be followed by a conditioning response, which means you have to have adequate rest, adequate nutrition, adequate water, adequate introspection, and adequate clarity of what it is that you want to create. And I'll talk about getting that clarity in the final part, part 7, on my 5 program design factors. So some tips for you. 1, listen to your body. Your body does not lie. As I said in the previous section of this program, your body can't lie. That's an intellectual process. That's something that you've learned to do. But it doesn't matter if you're lying to yourself. Your body will mirror back to you your lies. You're the executor that drives your cells and directs your cells. Use variety. The average person, I found a research study, 2 independent research studies, interestingly. One showed that the average person only knows 10 to 12 exercises. So if you query people on the street, on average, they'll only know 10 to 12 exercises total. And I found another study that showed the average person eats 10 to 12 foods for their entire lifetime, and that's it. That's very, very dangerous. You need more variety in exercise, or you get what I call pattern overload. You can work the joints and the tissues in the same pattern too much, and they start to break down, especially if you don't know how to periodize properly. So use adequate variety. My programs are loaded with variety. All my courses. There must be hundreds and hundreds of exercise options in all my different courses, so there's no need to have a lack of variety, and you don't need to read books, you just need to be creative. Tip 3, work in to work out. If you really want to be good and get good results with your exercise, your working in today's environment is probably more important than working out due to all these so-called invisible stress factors like I mentioned. Chemicals, environmental pollution, financial stress, late night lighting activity, the buzz of the whole environment. We need to work in more than we need to work out. And when you work in properly, working out's natural. You want to do it. Just like if you slept long enough, you want to get out of bed. Recovery aids, high quality organic food. Doctor Diet builds your temple, a body for your mind. We raise and eat our food with love. It makes our chemistry. Add good water and a smile. Be filled with energy. Eat good organics and be wise. You are what you eat. Yum, yum. Okay, so foods and superfoods, water therapy, cold showers. The whole world's overheated. Use cold showers regularly after your workouts, before your workouts, before making love. That's strong yin. You will find that it calms your mind and increases your anabolic capacity, supports your immune system, helps regulate your autonomic function. It's free, it's easy, it works. Build yourself up to 6 to 10 minutes in the coldest water you can get, and the harder it is for you to do it, the more you need it. It amazes me. People would rather have their organs, glands cut out, radiated, burned, and chemotherapy than take a cold shower. Okay. Now, there's other water therapies too. So you can use jacuzzis. You can get hydro massage. You can do pool therapies. Go play in the ocean. And there's a number of water therapies that are very effective. Massage therapy and acupuncture. If you're working out 3 times a week, I'd highly recommend you get at least 1 full body massage a week, or you're probably going to find you have a buildup of stress. If you're doing adequate amounts of stretching and working in, you'll need less massage. But anybody that's really trying to compete, train for something, effectively transform their body should be getting regular massage therapy. It significantly speeds recovery. The use of saunas and steams, particularly infrared saunas, very, very helpful. Sweating aids the detoxification system. And just like water cools the body and heat warms the body, when you're going into heat, it's expansive and it causes the blood to flow up to the surface to help cool you. And when you go into cold water, it initially causes blood to go to the surface, then it pushes it back in. So alternating hot and cold therapies pumps your entire cardiovascular system, your entire circulatory system, your lymphatic system. All your cells open in the heat and relatively close down. So it creates a vacillating pumping effect that can move toxins and waste out of your body very effectively. 5, rest skills. In my multimedia ebook, The Last 4 Doctors You'll Ever Need, in the section on Dr. Quiet, I show you how to use 3 types of rest: total rest, active rest, and passive rest. It's very important that you understand the use and application of those types of rest. So if you get a hold of that multimedia ebook at chekinstitute.com or ppssuccess.com, study those basic principles, because I go into a lot more depth on how to apply this in all areas of your life, and it's very simple but profoundly effective. So that covers the main things. Now, for more information on working out, my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, has a lot. It even has a scoring system that determines your total stress load and shows you exactly what types of exercises, and give you exercise programs for people that have that level of stress, so you can work out and or work in safely. My Golf Biomechanics Manual has a 7-step conditioning program for golfers, but the first 3 to 4 phases can be used by anybody. Primal Pattern Movements and my book, Movement That Matters, this is a correspondence course, show you the key exercises that you need to condition for working out for anybody. Swiss ball training and advanced Swiss ball training give you a large variety of exercises and techniques. And my video series, Strong and Stable, shows you how to mix Swiss balls, cable machines, weights, and other apparatus, and even machines, to make a comprehensive workout that has a lot of variety and stimulates the body-mind effectively. Scientific shoulder training teaches you all sorts of work in and work out techniques, rehab and corrective and strengthening techniques for the shoulder that are functional. Scientific back training teaches you how to use corrective exercise and conditioning exercises intelligently. My gym instructor video series teaches you all the common lifts in the gym with good technique. Scientific core conditioning has everything from isolation and stabilization all the way to strength and power exercises for the core. And program design and advanced program design teach you how to put it all together so you get a meaningful, effective response. And in my final part, I will go over the 5 key elements you must consider when designing your own exercise program if you want good results. Thank you for joining me today. You can find lots of these resources at chekinstitute.com. You can find out when the upcoming exercise coach training program is, my entry level to my 4-year advanced training program on corrective exercise and high performance exercise. You can see when the HLC1 courses are running for holistic lifestyle coaching, which takes you through my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, and deeper, and gives you lots of practice and practical experience on how to use it. It's my entry-level course. So I hope you've enjoyed the series so far. I'll be back with part 7 real soon.